Hello, everybody, and welcome to 4 Steps to Loving Your Job, Enriching Your Career, and Nailing Your Personal and Professional Goals. My name is Kim Sealing-Smith. I am the founder and CEO of Ignite Global. I'll tell you a little bit about my background here in a few minutes, but I want to start with some mind-boggling statements and some statistics that I think that you might find quite surprising. Did you know that most people spend more time planning a holiday or a vacation than their own career? It's true. Many people simply go through open doors. They need a job, they go find a job. They need another job, they go find another job. Without realizing where those open doors might be leading them, so many of them end up stuck, either on a plateau where they just feel like they can't go any further, or worse, many people end up getting stuck in a dead end, in a job that they hate or a company that they can't back. Now, part of what we're going to be talking about today is how to evaluate future job opportunities, because one of the things that I want to help you avoid is jumping from the frying pan into the fire. So I really want to help you get out of the cycle where you're going through those open doors. Don't let the lack of career planning cost you your hopes, your dreams, your goals, and your ambitions. I've seen that happen so many times, and that's one of the reasons that I get so passionate about teaching what I teach. And if you don't know me, well, if you do know me, you know that I'm very passionate. If you don't know me, you will find out very quickly, especially when I talk about career management. That's only part of my business these days, but it's near and dear to my heart. Did you know that most people expect their direct manager to have their career interests in mind? And yet, according to a recent study by Right Management, who's a large global outplacement firm, only 37% of employees have ever had, 37% of employees have never had a career development conversation with their manager. Not only the manager that they work for currently, but any manager. So let me ask you, go ahead and type in the questions box. When was the last time that you talked to your manager about your career? Go ahead and type that into the questions box. It's completely anonymous. Find where the questions box is. First of all, yes. Never talked about my career. Had a conversation last year, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. Oh, last month. Oh, well done. Hopefully that was a good conversation. Nearly every single day. Interesting. Managers not interested in my career development. Surprising that. Not really. I find that a lot. When you resigned. A couple of Kiwis on the line. Welcome. Yes. Now, the days of the gold watch are gone. Even though the majority of people expect their managers to have their career interests in mind, many don't. Many actually do care about their employees, their direct reports' careers, but they don't take the time to have the conversations. Your career these days, especially, is a DIY project. And that's what I want to help you do. I want to help you understand what you need to do to proactively manage your career. Because most people have never had any formal training on how to manage their career. And if they have had formal training, much of what they've learned is actually downright wrong. And we're going to talk about that. So that's what this hour is about. It's about taking control of your career. I'm going to give you some frameworks and some tools to help you take control of your career, help you formulate a 3 to 5 year career plan and some action plans. Now, I don't take lightly the fact that you're taking an hour and 15 minutes out of your day, especially this time of night, to for most people, because I think most people are on this on this side of the planet, Sydney or Australia or New Zealand. So I don't take this lightly, and I want us to make most of the time together. So if you would turn off anything else in the background, email, Skype, Facebook, etc. Silence your phone, turn off your phone, turn it off of vibrate so you don't get little mini earthquakes on your desk. Close your door, give yourself the time and permission to concentrate on you. If you haven't already done so, download the 4 Steps to Loving Your Job handbook, because following along in your workbook will actually help you cement this information that we're going through. We're going to be going through a lot of information in the next hour. Now, as I said early on, we will be taking questions at the end. I will stop from time to time and ask you to type things in the questions box, and then I will go back and review all of the questions that are questions about the course content at the end. So go ahead and type them in as they occur to you, but just know that I'll be getting to questions at the end. So now I know some of you I've worked with, and for those of you who don't know my story, I'll tell that in a minute, but I've worked with so many people. And I know that there are a number of people who have tried a number of different ways to either proactively plan their career, get their career back on track, or just really have the confidence and certainty that they need to make the right career decisions. And I know some of you are asking, will this framework, will these tools really work? And I can put my hand on my heart and promise you that yes, indeed, what I'm going to teach you tonight will absolutely work if you fall into one of about 5 categories. So you are in the right place if you loved your job once, but now you might be bored or frustrated, or you might not know what to do next, or might be afraid to make a move because you need this job. And I know times are uncertain right now, let's face it. You're in the right place if your priorities have changed, and now you're afraid that professional demands will interfere with your personal goals. Maybe you've gotten married and had children, or maybe you're at the other end of the continuum and you're starting to take care of elderly parents. And you want to make sure that you do have that work-life balance. You still want to grow in your career, but you want to make sure that you can attend to your personal goals as well. And we'll be talking a lot about personal goals in this next hour. And maybe you're somebody who's done really well in your career. And if that's the case, congratulations. But now you feel stuck or unsure about your next step, and you really want some guidance in terms of what to do and how to make the right decision so you don't jump from the frying pan into the fire. And potentially you've had a secret desire to start your own business. There's a couple people on the call that said that they have either started their own business or will be starting their own business. You might have some questions around, do I have what it takes? Do I have the confidence to do that? And finally, you're in the right place if you're starting to think about retirement, but you know that you want to do it differently than your parents. You want your third act to be different than how you saw your parents. You don't want to retire and drop dead of a heart attack 6 months later. You feel healthy. You feel young. I certainly do. I'm in my mid 50s and I can't think about even, retiring in the next 10 years. So if you are in any one of those categories, know that you are in the right place. Okay, so go ahead and type in the chat box now. I want to know why you left your last job. Why did you run from that job? Or did you run to the next job? Did you run from the job that you were leaving, or were you running to one that you were excited about? From, to, from, both. Oh, interesting. Invited to join, leaving current job, ran to the job. Excellent. Bit of both, right? Yeah. Excellent. So as expected, a real mixed bag, but most of you have said that you got bored or frustrated and you wanted to look for something different. And that's what I see a lot. People who are frustrated in their job, they know they need to do something different. So what prompts them to leave is that they want to do something other than what they're doing now. They want to run from their old job. Now, this is okay, but I want to help you understand what you want to run to, because some people actually jump from the frying pan into the fire and end up making a mistake. In fact, I like to say that a lot of people throw the baby out with the bathwater. They get frustrated where they are currently, and sometimes they get so frustrated that they think about doing something completely different. I've had people, when I was a professional career coach, which I don't do that that anymore. I don't do any one-on-one career coaching anymore. But when I did, I had a number of people who came to me and asked me to help them transition into a different career. I heard people say that they want to start a cafe or to join a band, to learn how to sing. I had one woman who was a banker who wanted to go into HR. I had one woman who was in PR who wanted to go into some sort of digital marketing, which was at least a little bit related. But I see so many people just getting so frustrated and saying, I want to do something completely different. And for that very reason, I'm actually going to give you a bonus just for showing up today. So this is just for the people who were on the webinar live. It's called How to Fall in Love with Your Job Again. And I created this based on one of the very first people that I worked with as a career coach. Her name is Jane. And when I first started doing professional career coaching back about, almost 8 years ago now, in 2009, April of 2009, I started Ignite Global. I was doing a lot of public speaking, specifically on career coaching. Now, I still do a lot of public speaking, but not necessarily on career coaching. Jane came to me, or Jane's husband came to me and said, could you help my wife? My wife is so frustrated in her job that she is wanting to train to do something else. Well, it turned out that Jane had been working as a paralegal for 26 years and had worked in the same company for 17. But in the last year, she started doubting her abilities. Not only that, she became so stressed out that she was having migraine headaches and having to miss a lot of work. So I started working with Jane, and Jane actually signed up for a 10-session career coaching series, which is what it used to take me to help people transition from one field into another. But do you know what? I actually refunded 9 of those sessions because I helped Jane fall in love with her job, the job that she had, the current job, but in the first session. And I developed what I did in that session into the Fall in Love with Your Job Again exercise. And I'm going to be sharing that with you. Turns out that a year previously, when Jane started having these migraine headaches, it was because she had moved offices. In fact, the entire company moved from one office building to the next. And the old office building that the company was in, her office was an individual office, and she sat next to her manager. The new office was open plan. And I thought at first, ooh, that's what's bothering her. But it turns out it wasn't. What was bothering her was her specific desk was under a very harsh light. And I went, oh, harsh light? Does that have something to do with the migraine headaches? Turns out it did. And as a result of that, I asked Jane, could you move your desk? And she said, well, of course I can. That's not a problem at all. There are plenty of spare desks. She moved her desk, and she also realized that she was missing that one-to-one interaction that she had with her manager. Because in the old office, she sat right next to her manager, but in the new office, she was on a different floor. So we did 2 things to help her fall back in love with her job. We changed desks, and we scheduled a 15-minute-a-week meeting with her manager. I talked to Jane every 6 months for 3 years, and indeed, she fell in love with her job again. This is the foundational exercise that I use whenever I teach career coaching, because not only does it help you understand what little frustrations have grown into really big things that might make you want to run from your old job, what it does a really effective job of doing is helping you get into an emotionally neutral state of mind. And getting into that emotionally neutral state of mind will help you make the big decisions so that you can understand what you want to run to instead of what you want to run from. So my gift to you for showing up live on the webinar is this Fall in Love with Your Job Again exercise that has helped Jane as well as a number of other people. I've been teaching this exercise for about 6 years. Now, this is the recommendation, actually, or the testimonial that Jane wrote me. After changing desks and scheduling the weekly meeting with her manager, she realized that she didn't have to retrain. In fact, she didn't even have to change jobs. She loved her job again. I haven't talked to her in a while, but I talked to her every 6 months for 3 years. It works. So I'm really excited to share that with you. Okay, so what you will learn today, guess what? We've already covered the first point. how to avoid making the wrong decision from a place of anger, frustration, or fear. We've already covered that. The rest of the points that we're going to be covering are why you've been asking yourself the wrong question when thinking about your career, and the three most important things to consider when planning the next 3 to 5 years. And by the way, I do not advise going further than 3 to 5 years because things change so quickly. You can just never tell what's going to happen after that. The next point that we'll cover is why it's important to consider all of your options, even the ones you don't see or are afraid to look at. Now, I say that because so many of us have blinkers on, and I'll be talking about the three different categories of options when considering career paths, because there are three different categories. I very much encourage you to brainstorm anywhere from 3 to 9 different options to help you reach your goals. We'll talk about that. And then I'm going to be sharing my number one marketing tip to put you ahead of your competition when looking for your next job, whether it's an internal promotion or an external job. And finally, as a bonus, I'll be sharing a Jedi mindset trick to help you stay positive and focused during that next transition. So a little bit about how I created this framework. Some of you on this call actually know this about me. I didn't start as a recruitment consultant, but I fell into recruitment in 1994. And during that time, I helped over 5,000 people. I helped them land great jobs, and then eventually I started helping them manage their careers. And the reason why I started helping them manage their careers is because when I was working as a recruiter, I became obsessed with why some people succeed in reaching not only their professional goals, but their personal goals, while others fail, why they keep hitting the mark. And I decided that I wanted to study that. And so from 1994 to about 2001, 2002, I worked with thousands of people, and I really got some very critical distinctions, which is exactly what I teach in this framework. These 4 steps are exactly what I'm going to be teaching you tonight. Now, I think I became so obsessed with this because I started off doing a really poor job of managing my own career. That's me, believe it or not, in 1981. Do you love the 80s hair? One of my clients was on the call today and he says, "Oh my God, you're a brunette." Yes, indeed. I discovered about 7 or 8 years ago that blondes do indeed have more fun, but that is my natural hair color. I was 19 years old in that picture. I was working the front desk of the Hermitage Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee. And my general manager at the time must have seen some potential in me because he said, "I'm going to put you into a little management and training program, and I'm going to rotate you between departments. And the first department that I want you to start off in is accounting." Now, I kind of heard part of that. What I focused on, though, my 19-year-old self, is not I did focus on I see some potential on with you, but I didn't focus on I see the potential of you staying in the hotel industry. What I heard was I see the potential in you being an accountant. So indeed, I went back to college. I went to the Ohio State University and got a degree in accounting and computer science. And I spent 2 years working for KPMG, and I was miserable. I was the world's worst accountant. I didn't know that the accounting function didn't suit me at that time. So, like so many of us, I mean, I took that advice, well-meaning advice, well, misunderstood advice, based on somebody that I really trusted and respected. And it was good advice had I listened to what the advice actually was. So I decided, well, KPMG isn't cutting it. I'm going to go work in the accounting function in a company. So I got a job as a reinsurance accountant with the Republic Insurance Group in Dallas, Texas. So I moved from Tennessee to Ohio to Dallas, Texas, and I was still miserable. And it took me 5 years and a couple of other jobs other than those two to figure out that the common denominator in all of these miserable experiences wasn't the company, the job, or the manager that I worked for. It was, you guessed it, me. So I wandered into an accounting and finance recruitment company, Robert Half International, and I said, I want to do some contract work while I figure out who I want to be when I grew up. Well, they convinced me that who I wanted to be when I grew up was a recruitment consultant, which I really tried to avoid actually for a short period of time. And then they did convince me that I wanted to give it a go. So in 1994, I fell into recruitment. I spent 15 glorious years. Robert Half moved me to Auckland. Some of you on this call know this. Moved me to Auckland, and I just had the time of my life while I was doing that. But then I decided that I wanted to take what I had learned in that 15 years of being a recruiter and start my own company. And I started Ignite Global in 2009, and I started doing professional career coaching. And I did that exclusively for about 2 years. Now, I absolutely loved it. And then in 2011, I expanded my business. And now what I do is I not only help individuals manage their careers, but I actually work at the organizational level, helping hiring managers hire better people and then inspire and retain them. But I use the framework that I developed when I was obsessed with the difference between people who do a great job of managing their career and those that don't, as a professional career coach, and then on into my business. Now, I've written a couple of books. I've written the book Mind Reading for Managers, 5 Focused Conversations for Greater Employee Engagement and Productivity. And I've been lucky enough to collaborate with the legendary personal development guru and mega author Brian Tracy on 101 Great Ways to Enhance Your Career. I've also had articles and interviews in several online and hard copy magazines and journals in Australia, New Zealand, the United States, as well as India and a few other Asian countries. So what I want to do is I want to help you avoid the common mistakes that I saw so many times with so many people while I was working as a recruiter and while I was doing one-on-one coaching. My passion is to help you love your work. We spend more of our waking hours at work than anywhere else, and I want you to absolutely love what you do, find your passion, and live up to your potential. So let's jump right into it. We've already talked about this, how to avoid making the wrong decision from a place of anger, frustration, or fear. I again want to reiterate this, that the smallest things often make the biggest difference. And to get yourself into that emotionally neutral state so that you run to your next opportunity and you know very clearly you have made that decision confidently with certainty what that next opportunity is, because it will help you hit your goals and tick off your values and play to your strengths. Hint, that is foreshadowing for what we're going to be talking about here in a second. I want you to really gain some clarity around that. And the best way that I know how to get you into that emotionally neutral state of mind is the Fall in Love with Your Job Again exercise. So you will get that today or tomorrow after this webinar. Number 2, why you've been asking yourself the wrong question when thinking about your career, and the 3 most important things to consider when planning the next 3 to 5 years. So again, time to find that questions box. How do you plan your holiday or vacation? What is the first thing that you ask yourself? What's the first thing that you ask yourself when you plan your holiday or your career? Go ahead and type into the questions, your holiday or your vacation. Go ahead and type into the questions box, where do I want to go? Where would the wife want to go? Oh, happy wife, happy life. Very good. Where do we want to go? What do we want to do when I get there? What am I going? Where do I want to go? Yes, absolutely. It's obvious, isn't it? Where do we want to go and what do we want to do when we get there? Why is it then that we ask ourselves the exact opposite question when we plan our career? What I liken it to asking yourself the question, I want to plan a holiday or a vacation. Do I want to fly? Do I want to drive? Maybe I'll take a train. We don't ask ourselves that question, but when we plan our career, that's exactly the question that we ask ourselves. We ask ourselves, do we want to be a butcher, a baker, or a candlestick maker? That's what we're taught to do from school on. I want to help you break that pattern of thought. I want to help you start with the destination, just like we do when planning our holiday. So what is that destination? Now, if you've been following along in your workbook, you will see that that's question 5. I definitely want you to write this down. The destination consists of 3 things: personal goals, job or career values, and your strengths. So go ahead and write that down now. We are going to go through these one by one. Okay, starting with personal goals. I want to tell you a story of why personal goals are so important before you even start your career planning process. Professional goals have to support and align with personal goals. And I'll give you an example of this. Well, again, one of my first career coaching clients back in, I think I was working with Evelyn back in 2010 by memory. Oh, maybe even a little bit later than that. It may have been 2011, 2012. Anyway, it was a few years ago. Evelyn was in the UK. She was working in London. She was an IT project manager, and she decided to move back home to Melbourne. And the reason that she decided to move back home was because she wanted to get married and have children. She was 32 years old at the time. So she took a transfer with the job that she was working for at that point in time, the company, took a transfer, same job, same company, same work, different team. And lo and behold, she started to become fairly miserable in her job. And so she decided that she would take that opportunity to hire a professional career coach, me, to help her retrain to become a chef. She wanted to become a chef. She loved hospitality. She loved taking care of people, and she thought that that was the best way to do it. So she hired me to help her go through that career transition. Now, do you guys know any professional chefs? Do they work really easy hours, or do they work really long and crazy hours? Who out there knows some professional chefs? Easy hours or crazy hours? Hard work or easy work? Yeah, crazy hours, right? Definitely not 9 to 5. Very, yeah, definitely one of the toughest jobs going. Really crazy hours. So conducive to meeting Mr. Right? Oh, brother-in-law. Oh, yes. Horrible hours. Yeah. Not conducive to meeting Mr. Right. Had Evelyn decided to pursue that career path, she would have been miserable because it would have been contradictory to what her personal goals were. Your your professional goals must support and align with your personal goals. Now, I'm really pleased to say that, again, using the fall in love with your job again exercise, she was actually able to figure out that the thing that was bothering her the most was the team. So she got a transfer into a different team, ended up working for that company for 3 more years. At the end of that 3 years, she found a job in a hospitality company doing the same type of work, a project manager. And then when she went to work for that company, everything started taking off. Her professional goals and her personal goals aligned beautifully. And you can see this was a Christmas note that I got from her a year ago. In the 18 months since she's changed jobs, she got 3 promotions and she got married. Yes, indeed, it was a big year for Evelyn. Your professional goals must support and align with your personal goals. So that's step number 1 in determining your destination. Step number 2 are your career values. What's important? What do you value in your job or your career? You really need to take some time and think about that. What do you value? What are your must-haves? What are your nice-to-haves? What are your do-not-wants? And then you can actually use those career values, those things that you come up with, to determine what questions to ask when you're evaluating whether or not the opportunity that you are pursuing is the right opportunity for you. Remember, you have every right to evaluate those opportunities as the hiring manager has to evaluate you. And those career values form a great basis for those questions. The third piece of the destination puzzle is your strengths. So again, type in the questions box. which deserves the most focus? I'm going to ask you to imagine that if you don't have kids, imagine that you do have kids. If you have kids, imagine that your child brings this report card home. Now, some of you know the answer to this already. Which grade on that report card deserves the most attention, the most focus? History, D, algebra. Ooh, algebra, right? Driver's ed, I like that. Which grade deserves the most attention? Oh, right. You don't want them to drown swimming. Yes. Well, conventional wisdom would say that the D, right? Because we are taught that in order to be successful, we have to overcome our weaknesses. We have to be a well-rounded individual. Well, guess what? 60 years of research says that that conventional wisdom is actually wrong. The Gallup organization has done the most research into the strengths area, but they're not the only ones who have researched this area. The CAP organization, which is a not-for-profit out of the UK, Marcus Buckingham, that's come from the Gallup organization, and all of the research that they've done says that you can get better at things that you're not necessarily great at, but if you want to be exponentially better, if you want the key that will unlock your true success, it's figuring out what your strengths are and spending as much time as you can working towards your strengths or playing in the areas of your strengths during your job. Now, the definition of strengths is a little bit different than what you've probably heard throughout your life. Most people think of strengths as something that you're good at. And indeed, it definitely is. That's a part of the component, something that you're good at or could become good at. But the other piece of the strengths puzzle is it has to make you feel strong. It has to light you up. Now, the reason for this actually goes back to how these strengths were formed in the first place. And I don't have time in this webinar to cover that, but just know that the feeling about how we do what we do is a very good indicator of what is actually a strength. Now, just unlocking your strengths can help you immeasurably. This is a woman who just recently completed my online career development course called Light Up Your Career. And I talked to her about something. We actually have a business opportunity, or she had a business opportunity that she wanted to talk to me about because funnily enough, she enrolled in Light Up Your Career. It's an online self-paced training program. And she enrolled in that while she was pregnant with her first child and completed it after the baby was born. And she used to send me updates, which was really quite cute. She used to send me updates on how she was tracking with that career development course. And she would send me all these aha moments. So when we talked the other day, I said, Samantha, all of the aha moments that you had from the course, what would you say was the biggest distinction for you? And she said, oh, strengths, definitely. Absolutely made a huge difference, a real different way of looking at my job and how to get more satisfaction out of my job. And she said that the course also gave her finally the confidence that she needed to start her own business, which is what she wanted to talk to me about. So it's a real key piece. So that's your destination, your personal goals, your career values, and your strengths. Now, once you decide what that destination is, now it's time to consider the vehicle, the path that you want to go down. So how do you brainstorm these paths? You've got your destination set. It's time to consider your options. So this next step is critically important. I want to help you take your blinkers off and look at the options that you don't see or even the ones that you're afraid to look at. Now, one of my favorite personal development gurus is Tony Robbins, and I love what he says about options. He says that in order to have options, you need at least three or more options, because clearly having only one, that doesn't give you any choice at all. Having only two options, well, that's not an option. That's actually a dilemma. It's only when you have three or more that you have true freedom of choice. So I'm going to go over the three categories of options that I would like you to start brainstorming when thinking about the career path that would help you get to that destination. The first is a safe and predictable option. So this is a linear career path. If you're an accountant, you may want to become a financial controller on up to CFO. If you're an administrative assistant, maybe going into an executive assistant role. So it's the linear, traditional, safe, and predictable career path. The second type of category is those options that are a little bit more uncomfortable for you. So maybe it is a role in a different function within the same company, or as Evelyn did initially, a different, same function, but different company. So stretching the boundaries just a little bit. So if you're in marketing, maybe you want to go into IT, or if you're in accounting, maybe you want to go into operations. And then there are those BHAGs, those big, hairy, audacious goals. These are those secret desires, like Evelyn wanting to become a chef, or the multiple people that told me they wanted to join a band. I definitely do not discourage you from thinking about those options. I just want to help you think about them more objectively. This is a refrigerator magnet that hangs on my refrigerator. My partner says that our refrigerator has so many magnets that the door is about to fall off. But I truly believe this. It's never too late to be what you might have been. But you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You want to think strategically about this. And I want to share another story with you. This is a woman who was in a cohort when I did this 4-step training program in a company that I work with here in Sydney called Sydney Water. This was about 4 years ago. They had me lead this 4-step training program throughout a series of months with a lot of different exercises in between. And we had 30 women going through the cohort, and it was a real eye-opener for a lot of these women. And Sally, being one of them, she determined that she really wanted to start her own business. She wanted to become a personal trainer. She had lost a lot of weight and gotten very, very healthy training and doing physical fitness, and she wanted to share that with people. So part of what we did during that 4-session course with Sydney Water is I helped them have really good conversations with their managers to talk about what they wanted to do in their career. And Sally had a really good conversation about wanting to eventually become a personal trainer. Well, her manager was great. Her manager said, Sally, I'd love to support you in that. Tell me, what do you think you need to learn that you don't know yet to have a successful business? And Sally said, wow, I never even thought of that. Let me think about that. Well, long story short, Sally and her manager actually devised a plan for her to get upskilled, to learn the things that she needed to learn to have a successful business while she was still working at Sydney Water. It was a win-win for both of them because they got to keep Sally longer, and Sally got to accumulate some skills that she needed to follow her passion, to follow her dream. Now, not only did Sally get some of those distinctions, by the way, you don't have to have a conversation with your manager to do that. If that is indeed a path that you want to follow, there's nothing wrong with getting skilled up in your current job or looking for a job within your current company that will help you get skilled up to pursue your goals. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The program worked wonders, though. Not only was Sally's story a success, but I also had 2 women that really made me, warmed my heart, because these 2 women applied for roles that they did not think that they were qualified at the beginning of the course, and both of them got them. Just having a framework to use will help you with certainty and clarity and confidence. So, now is the time that you bring this all together. You've got your destination. You have brainstormed anywhere from 3 to 9 options, at least one in each category. Now it's time to evaluate all of the options against the 3 components of the destination to help you figure out which is the right path to go. So what I encourage you to do is to take all of these options and to evaluate them against your personal goals, your career values, and your strengths. And the option that ticks most of your boxes in those 3 areas is the option that you should pursue the next. So now you've got your destination, you know where you want to go, you know what path you want to take to get there. Then it's time to mind the gap, to come up with a plan to accumulate the skills, abilities, and experience that you need to go from where you are now to where you want to go in the future. So you've got a plan. By this point in time, you will have a plan. Next is to market yourself. Once you have a plan, you know what you want to pursue. It might be an internal promotion. It might be just volunteering for additional responsibilities or a secondment or to do something different. Now what you need to do is you need to market yourself. This is my number one tip to put you ahead of your competition. And definitely, I want you to write this down. No one cares about what you've done. What they care about is what you've achieved. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that you want to do two things with your resume. You want to replace your job objective with a value statement. The objective is all about what you want. Now, eventually, a hiring manager will want to know what you want, but initially, they don't care. They want to know what value you can add to the position that you're applying for. So replace your job objective with that value statement. The second thing that you want to do is you want to replace your duties and responsibilities with achievements. They want to be outcome based and measurable. Those are the two things that if you do that with your resume, it will make a huge difference. I have loads of examples that I could share with you, but I want to share one this evening, which is another career coaching client early on in the Ignite Global business, a gentleman by the name of Leo Seck. He was is an engineer, very qualified engineer, and he was made redundant, laid off after the GFC hit, when the downturn hit back in 2009, 2010, and he was really struggling to get an interview. He knew that he was qualified. He knew that he was good at what he did, but he couldn't even get an interview. In fact, he couldn't even get an acknowledgement from these employers that they'd even received his resume. Well, he used those two tips and we revised his resume, and he got 3 callbacks in one afternoon, interviewed for all 3 of them, and took a job. That's just one of the examples that I can give you of people that have used that resume template to really made an extraordinary difference in cutting through the noise and putting you at the top of that virtual pile. So that's how to market yourself. The last thing that I want to end with before we segue into the last section is the bonus, the Jedi mindset trick to help you stay positive and focused. And again, this is critically important, especially when you're looking for a new job or any time in life. And there was one of the participants shared with me that they had their own business and then ended up going back into work for a corporate job and wanted to eventually start their own business again. Things like this happen. We have setbacks. Things don't quite go to plan in both our professional and our personal lives. But the key is to keep positive and focused. Now, there are a number of tools that I teach, and I want to share one of my most powerful with you. And I really want to bring this home because this can make or break the success in your career. When I was working in Auckland, there was a gentleman, we'll call him Craig. He was doing very well in his career until, again, the downturn hit and he was made redundant. And it took him 2 years to find another job after that. Not only did it take him 2 years to find another job, he has not 10 years later gotten back to where he was before he was made redundant. And the only reason for that is because he was completely taken by surprise. He was somebody who knew that he was good at his job. He did very, very well. He never even had a resume. He was poached to go from job to job to job. But he didn't have the resilience that it took to spring back from the setback that he had gone through at the beginning of the GFC. He got stuck like that proverbial deer in headlights. And as a result of that, he was never able to quite recover. And this is another one of my favorite sayings. Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So this little trick will help you constantly not only think you can, but know you can, because you are constantly reminding yourself not only that you can, but that you did. It's something that I call the IROC file, and it's really dead easy to create, but it's very, very powerful. The iRock file is a physical file folder of cards, emails, performance reviews, anything that you have in your file folders or your inbox in your email that tells you that you do indeed rock. Now, you also want to sit down and write up any memories or verbal feedback telling you that you did a good job, that you matter, or that you are loved. And then, if you're going through a difficult time, review that every day. Now, here is my uh, advice to you. Create the iRock file when you feel really good. Have that in your back pocket to be able to use when you get that setback. So, successful career planning. First of all, you want to determine your destination, those career values, those personal goals, your strengths. Then you want to brainstorm options using those 3 different categories. Then you want to evaluate options through the filter of those personal goals, career values, and strengths. You want to mind the gap and set out an action plan to get from point A to point B and to deliver on your professional destination. And then you want to market yourself effectively and stay resilient. So why did you show up today? You may have wanted to rediscover your joy at work and live out your purpose with passion. You might have been frustrated, or you might be frustrated with your current job, and you might be looking for tools to help you make the right decision with confidence and certainty to move forward. You might want to make sure that your professional goals don't overshadow your personal goals, that you can achieve both and have that work-life balance. You might feel stuck and want to regain control again. Or you might just want to think strategically about your third act. Whatever the reason, you might be asking yourself, wow, this was a lot of information. How do I put this all together? How do I come up with a plan that will give me joy and confidence, that will give me the certainty and help me do my best work? Well, as you know, I am all about options. So I'm going to give you 3 of them right now, because remember, only 2 is a dilemma. Your career is a DIY project, without a doubt. Now, I've given you everything that you need. I have given you the 4-step framework to help you set a course and remain confident and certain that you are on the right track. But if you only do it yourself, it could be complicated or confusing. Sometimes individuals can't see the forest for the trees. Or you might be somebody that gets stuck on personal goals. I have worked with so many people that just absolutely have such a hard time figuring out what their personal goals actually are, to the point where it stops them. They try to do it, but they just get stuck. They might have a fear of failure, or even worse, a fear of success. Maybe you might have trouble brainstorming those options. You can't figure out how to take those blinkers off and look more widely at everything that you could do, not only the safe and predictable options, but all the types of options that you have. Or maybe you are not sure what your strengths really are. You might need some help in that. Maybe you're somebody who doesn't sell themselves effectively, and I'm looking at every single woman on this webinar, not to be sexist, but we don't have a tendency to back ourselves very well. And maybe you just don't know how to pick yourself up after a setback and to stay positive and focused. So if you're one of those, then you might need some support. Now, friends and family can be great, but they could be a little bit biased. And a professional career coach, I used to do it, did it for 2 years. I don't do it anymore, in part because it's really expensive, but mostly, honestly, because I really wanted to work with more than one person at a time. So I developed a program that will help me reach multiple people. So I invite you to consider the third option. I invite you to join me in my online self-paced Light Up Your Career program. Light Up Your Career is an online self-paced system that will guide you and support you in creating this 3 to 5 year career plan using the framework that I just went through with you to reach your personal and professional goals, to play to your strengths, and to incorporate your job and career values. Light Up Your Career can be used on any type of platform, on your desktop, on your laptop, on your tablet, on your phone, although I'm really teeny tiny on your phone. Now, this is a testimonial from somebody who went through Light Up Your Career, and one of the participants on this webinar actually knows this person. He went through a couple of years ago, and he was kind of, thought that he was on the right track, but really just needed a good career health check to make sure that he was thinking about this objectively. And what he told me is that it really helped putting structure to his thoughts and putting them down on paper in a structured way. And he found, which is what I hear constantly from the people who have gone through this program, the tools are so simple and effective. Now, this program has been offered primarily within corporates. I did this live within Sydney Water, and this program was actually developed for the NBN here in Australia to roll out with their attendees. I've just started offering it to individuals like yourself on this webinar. This is the second webinar that I've done. What you get in this online self-paced program, it's almost 4 hours of interactive video of me leading you step by step through 29 different exercises that follow this 4-step framework. I will help you fall in love with your job again. Now, obviously, you're getting that exercise for being live on this webinar, but there's about a 10 or 15-minute module where I lead you through that exercise and help you answer those questions for yourself. Personal goals. If you're one of those people that gets stuck with personal goal setting, I've got 3 remedies to help you overcome these challenges. Your career values. You don't have to just think about what's important to you. I have a deck of 52 playing cards that will help you really identify what is important to you. What must you have in your job or your career? What would be nice to have? And what, more importantly, don't you want? What do you want to avoid like the plague? I've got 6 or 7 exercises designed to really hone in on your strengths and to help you really understand what those strengths are and how to leverage those while managing or mitigating your weaknesses. And then I've got exercises to help you brainstorm your options in those 3 different categories and mind the gap, to come up with a specific plan to gain the skills, abilities, and experience that you need to mind the gap between where you are and where you're going. I've got 4 tools to help you market yourself. What we talked about previously, I will walk you through how to put together great achievements and a good value statement, a really good value statement, and then 3 additional tools to help you condition resilience. There are 8 modules in this online program. The first one is the introduction and the overview. And one of the things that this slide represents is one of the things that's really unique about this program. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure, because several times throughout the almost 4 hours of video training, I asked you the question, and this is an example. Where are you in your career right now? Are you just starting out? Are you in the middle of your career? Are you a career veteran? Depending on what you say, I will take you to a different piece of content. The second module is where I lead you through that how to fall in love with your job again. But not only that, I actually help you debunk some career myths, some things that you could be doing without even realizing it because you've been taught this conventional wisdom that just doesn't serve you. So this is where I lead you through both of those. Module number 3, those personal goals. I will help you with any resistance that you have to goal setting. And then I've got 2 different goal setting exercises depending on if you're right brain or your left brain. I'm trying to cater for all types there. The career values, this is the 52 deck of playing cards where you actually sort these playing cards into what you must have, what would be nice to have, and what you absolutely do not want. And then in the marketing module, I help you turn those career values into questions where you can evaluate the interviewer and the potential employer to make sure that role that company is really what you want. And then finally your strengths and weaknesses. I've got loads of different exercises to help you really understand what your strengths are and how to leverage those and how to manage and mitigate your weaknesses. Now, if you've ever done any strengths profiles, they're great. But what I do is I combine the strengths profiles with looking at your day-to-day activities, what you do on a day-to-day basis, and how what you do, what category it fits into. Is it a strength? Is it a weakness? Is it a learned behavior? Then I'll help you brainstorm those options, those safe and predictable options, those uncomfortable options, and those big, hairy, audacious goals. Now, one of my favorite things about this program, I have to say, is the fact that I've made it so easy for you to do the evaluation. This was always a really kind of clunky piece when I taught this live, is how do you evaluate the options against the personal goals, the career values, and the strengths? And I never really came up with a way that worked live until I developed this online training program, and I worked with a professional instructional design team to help me create an exercise that does the majority of the evaluation for you. It pre-populates the work that you've already done in your personal goals, your career values, and your strengths. It pre-populates those options that you have brainstormed. All you do is you put in what I call the emotional charge. So it combines logic and emotion, and it spits out a numerical value that makes it so clear which is the right next path in your career. Then I've got the 7th module, which is marketing yourself. Again, I will walk you through how to create those achievements. I will walk you through how to come up with a great value statement that cuts through, and I will help you form questions based on what you've determined is really important to you so that you can do the correct evaluation in the roles that you're applying for. And then finally, that 8th module, conditioning resilience. Conditioning resilience is all about mind control. But don't worry, I won't be controlling your mind. I will be helping you control your mind. So in the conditioning resilience module, I'll be walking you through that IROC file, but I also will be walking you through a number of other exercises. So what you'll create at the end of this training program, you will walk away with a 3 to 5 year career plan with specific action plans that will help you be confident and certain about the path that you're following, about the decisions that you're making, that will definitely help you achieve not only your professional goals, but your personal ones, that will provide well for your loved ones and will give you a real sense of purpose and peace, because it will help you de-stress. You will feel confident about the path that you're going on now. I want to help you fall in love with your job again and love your career from now until the day that you retire. If you sign up for this online career program, I've got 3 bonuses for you. First of all, there's a video training, and I'm really excited about this because I just reshot it. In fact, I did this last night. And it's about a 17-minute training. It's 10 steps to help you prepare for an interview. It's what I learned as a professional recruiter. I helped thousands of people prepare for interviews, and I debriefed many thousands more of hiring managers after they interviewed candidates. And believe me, I know what works and what doesn't work in an interview. So I knew that I wanted to offer this as a bonus for you guys. It's a 17-minute training to help you prepare for an interview so that you nail it. The second bonus is my resume template. My resume template walks you through how to create a killer resume. You can use any format. This isn't a particularly attractive format, but it doesn't need to be really. But it walks through every single thing that you need to do, and more importantly, what you shouldn't do when creating a resume. The third bonus for you guys on the webinar is that you get a 20% off discount. So in addition to that, if you sign up during the question and answer period, which I'm just about to get you, I will give you a fast action bonus. I'm going to personally review your resume. Now, again, remember my experience, or Leo's experience, after months of applying for jobs without even acknowledgement, he got 3 calls in an afternoon. if I have a superpower, it's helping people prepare resumes. I think it's a sin from a past life or something. But that is my fast action bonus for you. So you're probably asking yourself, what does it cost? The total value of all of this package, the module itself and the 3 bonuses, is $2,562. But your investment is only $375 because it is an online self-paced training. $375. You can do that in 1 month, one-time payment of $375 or 3 monthly payments of $125. There's the link to register, 4steps.igniteglobal.com/fast. So go to 4steps.igniteglobal.com/fast now. I'm just about to start the question and answer. And if you do that before the 15 minutes of question and answer is up, then I will review your resume. Oh, in addition, there's a 30-day 100% risk-free guarantee. If you, within 30 days, you decide, nope, this isn't for you, I will give you your money back, no questions asked. And I can put my hand on my heart and say that that has never happened. As a matter of fact, I've had my business for 8 years, and I've done both professional career coaching as well as consulting and coaching and training at the corporate level with large and small companies. And I can put my hand on my heart and say that nobody has ever asked me for a refund. It's really something that I'm proud of. So let me tell you a little bit more about how the 2562 value was calculated. The complete online interactive Light Up Your Career program, that's worth about $1,900, almost $2,000 compared to what else is out there in the marketplace. The first bonus, the interview preparation secrets, that's about a $249 product. The resume template sells for about $39, and the resume review, $275. So if you add all of that up, that's $2,562. But again, for you, one-time payment of $375 or 3 monthly payments of $125. If you have any questions about this or any help ordering, please feel free to email me. Many of you already have my email address, but if you don't, it's info@igniteglobal.com. Now, if you're one of those people that have been really struggling with your career and have spent months or even years asking yourself the same questions or trying to figure out what's gone wrong, why you seem to end up in the same place over and over again like Groundhog Day. You may have even tried a very expensive career coach. You may have tried reading books, but nothing has really cut through. I truly invite you to join me on this program. So I'm going to open it up now to questions and answers. You can ask me anything about career development, job search, or the Light Up Your Career program. I've started the timer now, and actually, now I've started the timer. No, it seems to be freezing. So go ahead and I will keep track of this. I don't know why it's spinning. Here we go. Okay, let's try this again. Can I start the timer now? Go ahead and type your questions in the questions box. Nope, timer does not want to work. Timer worked this morning. I don't know why timer isn't working today. Okay, so let me get to some of these questions here. Oh my goodness, 140 job applications. Oh my goodness. Somebody was saying that they have applied, put in 140 job applications. All have been rejected. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, so questions. Okay, so somebody's asked me a question. They do have a destination. They know what they want to do. They want to train to be a sonographer. I think I know what that is. My question is, what career to pursue while they're doing that training as they need the income? Where to find a good recruitment person to help? Okay, so the first thing that I will tell you is never, ever, ever go to a recruiter unless you have a specific job in mind. Remember who pays recruitment consultants. Recruitment consultants are paid by the company, not by the candidate. So they're not there to help you find work. They're actually there to help their clients find people. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't help you find work, but you've got to be very, very focused on what you want from that recruitment consultant. So you actually need to figure out what job you want to pursue. Now, the question, what career to pursue while you're doing that, as well as you need an income. What I would say is the first thing that you want to do is your personal goals at this point in time is to have your professional goal actually. Part of that destination will be to have a job that will give you the flexibility and not have a lot of stress involved in it as well, so that you can concentrate on the studies that you're going through. So what you want to do is you want to follow this framework. Look at your personal goals, look at what's important to you. That's definitely something that's important to you, and look at your strengths and weaknesses. Brainstorm the different options that you have that will be able to tick off all of those boxes, and then approach recruiters, start pursuing companies directly, or start networking to find that type of a job. Okay. Oh my goodness, they're coming in fast and furious. All right. More of a statement. Couldn't agree more. Gaining clarity during self-inspection is challenging and often gets placed in the too hard basket. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And so as a result, you avoid it, and then you keep going through those open doors. How many hours do you recommend on the course? The course actually takes about, well, it is self-paced. It's 3 hours, almost 4 hours of video training. And I very much recommend you taking breaks between exercises. So I've had people go through the course in 3 days to a week, and I've had people go through the course in 6 months. Samantha, who kept sending me pictures of doing it with her baby, which was just so cute. She took about 6 months to do it, but I've had other people, TAFE up in Queensland, they have made it available for about 30 of their staff, and the fastest one went through it in 3 days. Yeah, so you better figure that out. Okay, next question. How do I transition from working part-time while raising a family to building my career and moving up the career ladder? Excellent question. I would say, first of all, you want to decide what you want to. Do you want to stay in the same type of career path or position that you were in before you left the workforce full time? Um, you want to, let me take a step back and say that more articulately. It's getting a bit late. My brain's getting a bit fuzzy. I apologize. So the first question that you want to ask yourself is, when you go back to work full time, what do you want to do? The way that I have you plan out goals in the course, and how I just teach people to plan out goals, is to start with the end in mind. So if you decide that you want to go back to work in 3 years or 5 years, really determine what that job is in 3 to 5 years, and what that gap is between the job that you ultimately want and where you are now, and then work backwards. So if I want to be at point X in 5 years, I need to be at point A in 3 years, point L in 2 years, and within the next 6 months, I want to do F, if that makes sense. So work backwards from the ultimate goal. Is there a time limit when you sign up on the amount of time you have to work through the online program? It is available to you for a year, and that's just how the program's set up. It's just automatically, you've got a year license with an option to renew, but you get to keep the exercises forever and ever and ever. So the online program is really the 3 hours and almost 4 hours of video, but the exercise, the workbook, is a downloadable workbook, so you can use that over and over and over again, but you have access to the videos for a year. Having difficulty to determine professional goal. I don't know where I should be next 3 to 5 years. Help me to set my goal. So what you want to do is you want to work the program. I can't necessarily help you set your goal. You've got to go through these steps. find out what, figure out what those personal goals are, what your career values are, what your strengths are, and that will help you determine your destination. Somebody else, I've been very successful over the last 2 years and I love my job as a consultant. How can I now take that next level from good to great? Great question. One of the things that you want to evaluate is what great looks like. So if you're good, look at yourself very objectively and look at, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being great, where do you fall? And then what is that gap between where you are now and number 10? And that's what you need to pursue. So set up an action plan for you to pursue that. Okay, so I've got about 5 minutes left. Let me just scroll back to see if I've missed any questions. Go ahead and type the questions off. Put any additional questions in the questions box. Just scrolling through these now. Okay. All right. One question that I had is the length of the resume. This gets asked every time. So it depends on where you are in the world, but rule of thumb for most places these days are 1 to 2 pages. 1 to 2 pages, which means you need to be very short, sharp, and succinct. And again, you can do that if you trade in your duties and responsibilities for achievements, measurable achievements. Okay, I'm just going through here. Oh, I just saw that you lost the audio for a period of time. I do apologize. You will have a recording though, so you can go back and review anything that you might have missed. Okay. Okay, what else? What other questions do you have? Let me take a minute. This is a little bit of a long one. Okay. As part of the online course, are we able to bounce additional questions off of you? I, I will say yes. Feel free to email me. If it's a short, sharp question, I can happily answer that. The majority of time nowadays is spent working with corporate clients. But like I said, every once in a while, I love to get back to my roots. This is what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about helping people really understand what their strengths are, where they want to go in their career, and do what they need to do to do that. So yes. For those of you on this webinar and this webinar only, yes, feel free to email me with questions. Not a problem. Okay, we've got about 3 minutes left. What other questions do you have? Great question. Somebody is looking at the third act of their life. Will this be appropriate for people who are in their, oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, this is a little bit long one. This is the one that I started to read and then got distracted. Okay, so this participant is over 40, is finding a hard time really, finding roles that they're interested in, but finding employers to take notice of them. Will this course help? Yes, it will. And it will help from a couple of different standpoints. Number one, as we get more and more senior in our career, our options feel like they're limited. Now, a lot of career coaches talk about transferable skills, but what does that actually mean? You really want to think about your transferable skills from a standpoint of what your strengths are and how those strengths have related to your achievements in the past. And when you're evaluating the next career path, it's important, if you are over 40 especially, to think more broadly, because there are a lot of employers who just won't look at, age discrimination just runs rampant still. There are a lot of employers who just won't look at people over 40. So I definitely would encourage you to open up those blinkers and to think about what all of your options are, and to think about those strengths and turning those strengths into achievements to really set yourself apart of your competition. Okay, another couple. Yes, the dollar amount is US dollars. Thank you for reminding me of that because I've got people from all over the world. I just decided to make the US dollar the common currency. I have a lot of part-time roles during my time child raising. How do I squeeze that into 2 pages of resume? Really good question. My resume template actually has a way to do that. What I suggest, if you have a lot of roles, is to start with a summary and then combine the similar roles. So start with a summary showing the chronological order. So you don't want to miss off any of your part-time roles. But I would group them into as a result of working during the last, I would say something like during the last X number of years, I have worked part time while raising children. And remember, they cannot discriminate against you at that point in time. Or you might not even want to say that. You might just want to say, I have worked part time. This is a summary of my part time roles, and I have grouped the achievements together. And then at the bottom of that summary of the chronological order of your roles, you want to bring out the roles that are similar to each other and talk about the achievements and um, um, maybe refer back to that the individual role that came from. Okay. Oh, great question. When you're a naturally reserved person, how do you sell yourself? The best way to sell yourself is through your achievements. First of all, have your achievements stated very explicitly on your resume and be able to talk through those achievements very articulately while you're interviewing. Part of my interview training that you get as a bonus for enrolling into Light Up Your Career is to help you. Part of the training talks about helping you practice and practice talking about your achievements so that they roll off your tongue, so that you don't feel funny about it. The other thing is that you definitely want to use those Jedi mind tricks. I've got one of those Jedi mind tricks in the course is all about visualization. You know, top athletes use visualization very, very successfully, and that's something that you can do prior to an interview as well. Is visualize it going well. So you don't necessarily have to sell yourself in terms of, you know, high note yourself, big note yourself. Just know what your achievements are and be able to talk confidently about them. Okay, guys, we're running over time. I want to be very uh, um, uh, I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for. I want to honor the time commitment, and especially because it is so late for those of us here in the Southern Hemisphere, especially the Kiwis on the line. So I will end it here. Please feel free to email me with any question. Oh, one last question. The free resume review. Can we leave this review for when we are on the hunt? Absolutely. The free resume review you can do anytime, anytime at all. That's not a problem. So again, thank you so much for your time and attention. This is obviously something that I'm really, really passionate about. I don't teach this very often these days, but when I do, I really love it. I appreciate you taking the time, especially so late at night for I think all of you, if not most of you, are over on this part of in this part of the world. So thanks so much. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to email me info@igniteglobal.com. And I look forward to seeing you guys on the course. Bye-bye now.